Hey guys, Rob Shucraft with Three Storm Fitness. I want to talk to you today about a topic that's been discussed forever, many times, and I'm not going to really say anything original here, but I'll throw my 2 cents on the subject because it is something that does pertain to how I train people. I have a lot of kids who I train, uh, usually middle school age, high school age, and it's often it's something that I'm still asked quite a bit, and I still see all the time out there is should kids be lifting weights? Is it going to stunt their growth? Is it going to have some sort of negative impact on their development? And like most things, especially in fitness, most things in life, but especially in fitness and nutrition and body composition and performance, there's all sorts of stigmas and dogmas and Boolean thinking of, this is either great or it's terrible or whatever. You have to pick a side. Unfortunately, nothing is like that. I mean, maybe there's a few things that work for everybody across the board. Let's just say drink more water, eat more vegetables. But when it comes to do you have to back squat? Do you have to do, no is the answer, by the way. Do you, although it's great if you can and you need to. Do you, will more crunches shrink your midsection? No, it will not. Stuff I've talked about before. Anyways, it's all it just misinterpretation and just old ideas that have been forwarded on through the years. Squatting bad for your knees, just stuff like that. And the answer to most of those questions is it just depends. That's I'm a big fan of Joe DeFranco, and I've listened to his podcast quite a bit. Although I'm about 50 episodes behind, I think I have a little bit of catching up to do. But that's his answer for everything. It depends, and that should be your answer for everything. I mean, personal training, coaching, making decisions, and programming, whether it's for yourself or somebody else, you have to look at the big picture and make adjustments from there. So let me get to the point. Is is lifting weights bad for kids? Should kids be lifting weights? It depends. Um, no, I would say no as a general answer. No, there's no reason why a kid shouldn't lift weights. To quote DeFranco again, or to paraphrase him anyway, he was asked this on a podcast, Q&A podcast, and he brought up a perspective that basically his answer is no, not necessarily. He made a comparison. He said, you look around schools, I know this was the case when I was in school. I had like a 50-pound backpack on. I don't know if it was 50 pounds, but it was, you got 4 textbooks in there. You don't have enough time to go to your locker, or maybe if you're like me, you're just too lazy. You're walking up and down stairs all day, 5 days a week. Let's just say conservatively with 25 pounds on your back, running around the class, maybe walking to school with that. That's lifting weights. I mean, it's not in the traditional sense, but as far as like lumbar compression and stuff, I mean, most kids have terrible posture. Very few kids are going to be walking around with super tight cores and engaged glutes and retracted scapula, and you don't see that. So yeah, that seems to be just fine because they're learning. It's nonsense. I'm not saying the kids shouldn't have backpacks. What I am saying is, if you let your kid wear a backpack at school, then you shouldn't have any problem with them lifting weights if they need to. I'll get to the point in a moment. Another point he made was look at kids playing on the playground or anywhere, playing on a coffee table. You watch little kids. I mean, I watch my son sometimes jump off of he's 7. He'll climb up, on the playground and jump off, roll out and get back on and do it 50 more times. And it makes me cringe just because I'm like, if I did that, I would blow every joint in my body. But there's very few parents are out there saying, "Oh, I don't let my kids play on playgrounds because the impact from plyometric activity is whatever." The point there is kids jump and play and put themselves through some crazy stuff. The impact of, let's just say, jumping from a 4-foot surface for a kid, which they do all day, every day, if they're at school and recess and whatever, that's going to be a heck of a lot more force, more potentially, I guess, deleterious impact training than just playing, we'll say, than doing, I don't know, goblet squats with a 25-pound dumbbell. It just does not jive. I'm not necessarily saying that jumping off of a tall surface is going to be good for your kid. It might be. But what I am saying is, just kind of to the previous point of carrying the backpack around, if you're letting your kids do that and you don't have a problem with that, and you shouldn't necessarily, then don't get all up in arms if they're doing squats. So getting to more of the it depends point, I just want to kind of bring those points up because I think they're worth thinking about just from a logical standpoint. Most kids, I wouldn't say most kids, but a lot of kids just don't need to lift weights. A lot of adults don't need to lift weights. And what I mean by that is they're at a point physically, they're at a point in their training age or whatever, functionally speaking, we're all sorts of things to keep in mind. Movement patterns, symmetry or asymmetry, restrictions, tightness, all sorts of different things to keep in mind. Goals, obviously, is a big one. Where it might make a lot more sense to just keep the body weight, calisthenics, play, organized play with some sort of programming factor into it, some sort of progression. A lot of kids, I'll just put it this way. When I'm training people, if somebody can't do a push-up, we're not going to be starting on a barbell bench press. Like, you got to build up to that. Now, if I have a kid, there's a guy I started training. We went through a few assessments. He could do push-ups, no problem. He could bang out 25 push-ups without breaking a sweat. Squats were perfect. Lunges were perfect. Symmetry. He's like a star client, just in terms of ease. I started him pretty darn early lifting weights. He's a baseball player, so I got him under a yoke bar, doing a lot of like split squats and things like that. But he needed to go to the next level, to put on the size he wanted, to put on the strength he wanted, and the power and everything. He needed an extra layer of resistance, a way to increase the intensity. I've talked to Brandon on this before. Great, he can do 200 push-ups in a row. Well, that's wonderful if he's entering a push-up contest, but is it going to help him on the playing field? No, he's going to need some extra resistance for that. So, this kid's 115 pounds and he's deadlifting he did 3 sets of 5 for 180 pounds the other night. It's freaking crazy. Perfect form, no pain. I have no problem with it. He's 13 years old. Maybe you think I'm the devil for allowing him to do that, but he has shown that he's fine across the board. He's progressing without pain, meeting his goals. There's no reason to stifle him by saying, oh, you can't lift weights because you're at a certain age. On the other hand, I get a lot of kids who I work with who can't do a push-up. Maybe they're overweight. Maybe they just never really played sports, whatever the case may be. And same with adults. I tend to train kids very similarly to adults. I mean, as far as just principles and concepts, I try to make things a little more fun for kids, but I don't tend to operate on he's under this age, so we're not going to lift weights. If they need to lift weights to meet their goals and their bodies are able to handle them, let them lift weights. There's nothing wrong with it. But there's just all sorts of considerations you have to have. Same with adults, like I said. Like, if I got a person who can't do a push-up, can't do a proper squat without folding over and their knees hurt or whatever, there's no way I'm going to load them up with a barbell. It's irresponsible and it's unnecessary. So again, the answer is it depends. Wow, this might be my shortest rant ever. I'm gonna end it before 10 minutes. If you guys have any other weigh-ins on this topic, again, nothing that hasn't been said before, but I would love to hear it. Maybe you have a different perspective. Maybe you just completely disagree with me. Bring up your counterpoints. I'd love to hear them. Everyone's friends here, hopefully. All right, guys. Rob Shoecraft, 3 Storm Fitness. Please subscribe to my channel and have a terrific day. You deserve it. I always say that. I never say that, but you do.